Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the Deep Dive, the place where we take stacks of research on the world's most compelling, often remote, destinations, and we cut straight through the noise to tell you what you really need to know. Today we are deep diving into a location that is, in every sense of the word, an expedition, not a vacation, Christmas Island.
And when we began synthesizing the sources for this particular deep dive, the immediate takeaway was that this destination's profound wildness is intrinsically linked to its isolation. Geologically, it is a fascinating anomaly. You're looking at an ancient volcanic cone that erupted thousands of meters from the ocean floor.
Right, from the seabed.
Exactly. And over millennia, it's been capped by these massive sheer layers of uplifted limestone. This geology creates a totally unique vertical tropical habitat.
It's essentially a giant sea cliff.
A massive sea cliff teeming with life found absolutely nowhere else on the planet.
And we have to tackle the world's most spectacular piece of geographical misnaming right out of the gate. The name Christmas Island. It just evokes these images of, tinsel and snow, maybe a festive shopping scene.
Right. And the reality, as all our research hammered home, is the polar opposite.
The complete opposite.
The reality is that this is an Australian external territory, but it is situated 500 kilometers closer to the coast of Java, Indonesia, than it is to mainland Australia.
So it's way, way out there.
Smack in the middle of the vast Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
So forget Santa Claus. The true resident here is the Christmas Island red crab.
And we're not talking about a few crabs on the beach.
No. We're talking about populations numbering in the tens of millions.
The misconception really matters because the truth of what it is, it's just exhilarating. It's an ecological marvel, an ark for endemic species.
Exactly. Creatures, insects, birds, things that evolved in complete isolation and are dependent on this one small rock for their survival.
But that very isolation is the key, isn't it? The journey to reach it is incredibly difficult and expensive.
And that difficulty, it acts as a natural, unyielding gatekeeper. It's what ensures its pristine nature is maintained.
So our mission today is to break down that immense effort. We need to be absolutely frank about the logistics, the flights, the cost, the accommodation reality, and, the cultural requirements.
And then we weigh those against the sheer, unparalleled, world-class natural experiences. We want to answer the ultimate question for you. Considering the epic journey and significant financial investment, is Christmas Island truly worth it?
Because this place really demands a specific kind of traveler.
A specific kind with a very specific mindset.
Okay, let's start with the filter, because this is where most casual visitors are going to drop off. We have to talk about the single biggest hurdle separating the serious adventurer from the dreamer.
The barrier to entry.
Just getting there.
Indeed. We must frame this as a significant challenge. If complex travel logistics cause you immediate anxiety, this destination, it might not be for you. For virtually all travelers, the route is dictated by geopolitics and geography. There's really only one way in, a flight originating exclusively from Perth, Western Australia.
And when we analyze the logistics, this is where the expense comes into sharp focus. This isn't a competitive international route with lots of options.
Not at all. It's an essential lifeline.
So what does that mean in practice?
It means the service is operated by a single carrier, Virgin Australia, and critically, the schedule is highly constrained.
How constrained are we talking?
Reviewing the current schedules, you can typically expect only 2 flights a week.
Wow, only 2.
It's a 4-hour flight, which seems manageable, but because the route has limited competition and carries essential cargo, the costs are, they're prohibitive.
So what should someone budget? Realistically.
Budgeting conservatively, you must set aside between 1,000 and 2,000 Australian dollars for a round trip.
Per person.
Per person, just to land on the rock.
That is a hefty financial commitment before you've even packed a suitcase. And that lack of frequency, just 2 flights a week, that has a massive structural consequence that needs to be perfectly clear.
It absolutely dictates the entire length of your trip. You can't just spontaneously decide to stay an extra night or depart early.
You are locked in.
You are locked into the flight schedule. This typically forces a 7-day stay, which aligns perfectly with that 2 flights a week rotation.
Is a shorter trip even possible?
Occasionally, a 3 or 4-day short trip is possible, but the 7-day trip is the default, and it's the most robust choice for pre-booking, which, I should add, you must do months in advance.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second. 1,000 to 2,000 AUD for a 4-hour flight is expensive.
It is.
That's comparable financially to flying from Sydney to, say, the tropical north of Queensland, where you have luxury resorts and constant flights. Why should a listener accept this extreme price point and inflexibility?
And that's a fair challenge. It really goes back to the core concept of this deep dive. This money is purchasing access and solitude, not service or convenience.
So you're not paying for luxury.
Not at all. The flight is expensive because it is carrying the entire lifeblood of a remote community. Not just you, the tourist. You're paying a premium to fly into an isolated ecosystem, not a mass market tourist hub.
So the high cost is part of what keeps it special. It's a filter.
It is the first and most effective filter, ensuring the island remains uncrowded.
I appreciate that reframing, but the financial burden is only part of the risk. We have to talk about what you called the baggage crisis. This is a serious practical warning our sources repeatedly emphasized.
It is perhaps the most crucial logistical warning. As I mentioned, these planes are not simply passenger transports, they are the island's supply chain.
Right, they're carrying everything.
Everything. Mail, fresh produce, spare parts for the mine, medical supplies. This necessity immediately impacts passenger baggage.
So first, your checked baggage allowance is probably smaller.
Much lower than standard domestic or international flights. But the second part is the real hazard.
Go on.
There is an exceptionally high chance that your checked baggage will be offloaded in Perth to make room for critical, higher priority cargo.
So your bag just gets left behind.
It waits for the next flight. And given the schedule, that could mean your luggage arrives 3, 4, or even 7 days after you do.
If you're on a 7-day trip, that means you might only get your bag on the day you leave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is a disaster. And this is where that essential travel tip comes in. It's absolutely non-negotiable. Your carry-on is your survival kit.
You have to assume your checked bag won't arrive.
You must pack for the potential loss of your main luggage for the entire duration of the trip. Pack your swimsuit, 2 changes of clothes, essential hiking gear, reef shoes.
Vital prescription medications.
Oh, absolutely. And sun protection. All of it in your hand luggage. If you arrive without that, you are facing a significant hassle with 0 chance of replacing essentials on the island.
That is intense. And for you, the listener, considering this trip, you need to assess your own tolerance for that specific level of logistical failure. If you are someone who needs certainty.
This destination is actively working against you.
Right.
Correct. But this difficulty is the philosophical preamble to the entire experience. This required planning, the patience, the necessity of packing a comprehensive carry-on it, forces the traveler onto island time, and demands a surrender of control before they even land.
It's part of the initiation.
It's part of the initiation into a rugged travel experience.
So you've accepted the cost, you secured your flight, and your carry-on contains your entire wardrobe for the week. You survive the flight, and the warm, incredibly humid, jungle-scented air hits you. Now we move into the reality of life on the ground, accommodation and transport.
And we need to manage expectations regarding creature comforts right away. Let's be explicit. This is not a destination built for sprawling resorts.
No infinity pools.
No infinity pools, no swim-up bars, no concierges catering to your every whim. The mandate here is practicality and function.
So if I ask what level of creature comforts we are realistically giving up here, how would you respond? Functional sounds like code for basic.
It is comfortable, but certainly not luxury. You are giving up the expectation of extensive service staff. You are looking at apartments, self-contained units, and small, locally owned lodges or hotels.
The emphasis is on self-sufficiency.
Absolutely. No major international chains operate here. The lodging is community-based and built for people who are there to work or, in the case of tourists, to explore the environment, not insulate themselves from it.
In the majority of these options, things like the Sunset Hotel or VQ3 Lodge, they're clustered in the main hub, the settlement, right near the port.
Exactly. Flying Fish Cove is the name of the main port and the main township area. And when places advertise an ocean view, it is essential to understand that you are viewing a working port.
So it's not a pristine, empty beach?
It's an authentic scene. You will see bulk carriers being loaded with phosphate and supply vessels coming and going. It's dynamic, but it is an industrial reality, not a fantasy.
And physically, the settlement itself is dramatically situated. The sources mention the steep sea cliffs.
Yes, the town is literally carved into the side of the cliff face. Mobility involves constant vertical movement.
All the hills.
A lot of hills. Even a walk to the local store often involves navigating steep inclines and declines. You need to be physically prepared for that constant hilly landscape.
But even more vital than your physical readiness is your transportation plan. This is the second non-negotiable requirement.
We cannot emphasize this enough. A car is essential. Not useful, not recommended, but essential.
No Uber, no taxis.
There is no public transport, zero ride-sharing services, and virtually no taxis to be hailed. Your ability to access the island's world-class attractions is entirely dependent on your own four wheels.
And not just any four wheels.
And not just any vehicle, you must book a four-wheel drive. If you book a standard two-wheel drive rental, you will severely limit your itinerary, perhaps to just the main paved roads in the settlement.
And miss all the good stuff.
All the best spots. Many of the island's true gems, the secluded beaches, the bird lookouts, the rainforest tracks, they're only accessible via unsealed, rough, often muddy rainforest tracks. A standard car will bottom out or get stuck.
So the 4WD rental is critical, but like everything else on the island, the supply is severely restricted.
Precisely. We're talking about a very limited pool of suitable vehicles for rent on a remote island with a small population.
Meaning you have to book it way ahead of time.
You must book your 4WD simultaneously with your flights and accommodation, perhaps even before you finalize the flight ticket if possible.
What happens if you wait?
If you wait until the last minute, especially during peak crab migration season in November, December, you risk arriving on the island effectively immobile. Having transport is the key that unlocks the interior.
And the cost of that 4WD rental, when amortized over the limited supply and mandatory booking, is factored into that overall budget we discussed.
It is.
The island is making you pay for access, and that access requires the right equipment.
It does. The accommodation and transport are designed to facilitate an adventure, not to be the adventure itself. They are clean, functional bases that force you to be resourceful and to accept the ruggedness of the environment.
Okay, we found our launch pad and our rugged vehicle. Now let's talk about Section 3, the cultural flavor, the food scene, because the planning that went into the flight and the car, it also needs to extend to your grocery list.
That's absolutely right. The grocery logistics are a direct consequence of the isolation. Yes, the island has a small supermarket, but remember, every single item,
Everything.
whether it's long-life milk, a box of cereal, or a head of lettuce, must be shipped or flown in.
And what does that mean practically for the consumer? I'm guessing high prices?
It means two things. First, yes, high prices. You are paying the premium for complex logistics and vast distance. Second, limited and fluctuating variety.
Hey, you can't count on finding what you want.
Fresh produce availability is entirely dependent on when the last shipment arrived, and those shipments can be delayed by weather or logistical issues. You cannot rely on finding specialized ingredients or even common items consistently.
This is why that practical advice we found in the sources is so crucial. Travelers should utilize the self-contained kitchenettes provided in their accommodation.
And pack their own non-perishable favorites.
Absolutely.
It's a huge budget saver and stress reducer. Bring your favorite high-quality coffee grounds, shelf-stable snacks for hiking, maybe a few specialty spices or ingredients you know you can't live without.
It mitigates the financial friction and ensures you have reliable fuel.
Exactly.
But when you do venture out to eat, that's where the island's incredible cultural narrative comes alive. We're talking about a community built on a dynamic blend of cultures.
The primary population mix is Chinese, Malay, and Australian due to the island's historical links and labor needs. This mix is gorgeously reflected in the cuisine.
I mean, you can expect to find some of the most authentic and fresh Southeast Asian flavors you'll ever experience in an Australian territory.
It's a fantastic fusion. We're talking about robust Malaysian curries, like a curry capitan or a killer laksa fresh Chinese noodle dishes, and perhaps Hainanese chicken rice.
It's a delightful, unexpected culinary experience born from necessity and trade routes, served right in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
And if you are looking for the social and sort of sociological heart of the island, the sources overwhelmingly point to one place.
The Golden Bosun Tavern.
Bosun.
The classic Aussie pub, often with a fantastic view. This is where all the disparate threads of Christmas Island life converge. It's where you truly witness the community in action.
You might be sitting next to a seasoned miner coming off shift from the phosphate operation,
Sharing a table with visiting scientists monitoring the bird population.
chatting with Australian federal police officers stationed there, or exchanging tips with dedicated park rangers.
So it gives you this immediate, unvarnished insight into the island's working, resilient community.
It does. The food is good, hearty, pub fare, and Chinese Malay options, but the real value is that social connection.
And a final planning note here. That flexibility we keep talking about, it extends to dining out.
Absolutely. This is not a metropolis. Eating out options have specific, often short operating hours. You need to check those schedules daily.
So if a great local spot is only open on Tuesdays and Fridays,
You adjust your plan to take advantage of it. It's another way the island insists you move at its pace.
the food experience, therefore, is not just caloric, but cultural, supporting those small, family-run businesses that keep the island running and providing a taste of that unique historical blend.
It's immersive and essential to understanding the place.
Okay, so we've established that the logistical hurdle is high and the costs are significant. Now, we shift gears completely and move into the justification. Section 4, the payoff. The world-class activities. This is the return on your investment. This is where you realize the effort was entirely worth it.
And this section has to be robust because it's the defense of that $3,000 AUD price tag. These are experiences that cannot be replicated easily, if at all, anywhere else on the planet.
And we have to start with the main event.
We must. The red crab migration.
It is a phenomenal spectacle of scale, if you time your trip correctly, which is a gamble.
It's a gamble, usually pegged around late October through December, triggered by the first substantial rains of the wet season and tied precisely to the lunar cycle.
But if you hit it right, you are witnessing one of the greatest mass movements of arthropods on Earth.
The scale is almost incomprehensible. Our research confirms that estimates place the marching population at up to 50 million adult red land crabs.
50 million.
They emerge from the forest interior and march relentlessly down to the coastline to breed and release their eggs into the sea.
And the visual is just staggering. It's not just that you see crabs. The sources describe the ground, the cliffs, the roads.
Everything turns into a continuous, moving, living carpet of bright, vibrant red. It's an overwhelming sensory experience. The rustling sound, the sheer density of life.
And what truly sets this island apart is the human response to this event. The community, the government, the Park Service.
They demonstrate an incredible ecological dedication. Roads are closed.
Not just for a few hours.
Not just occasionally, but for days or weeks at a time to give the crabs right away. They've built special crab bridges, tunnels, and barriers to facilitate safe passage across the island's infrastructure.
Humanity adapts to the needs of the ecosystem, not the other way around.
Exactly. That structural difference to nature is a theme we need to keep returning to. It speaks volumes about the island's ethos.
But even if a traveler misses that narrow migration window, the crabs are always present. And then you have the true giants of the land to marvel at. The robber crabs.
Ah, the coconut crabs. These are almost mythical. They are the largest land arthropod in the world.
And the descriptions of their size are just wild.
They are. Some can reach the size of a small dog with leg spans of a meter. They possess thick, chitinous armor, often displaying this striking iridescent blue or purple coloration.
They truly look prehistoric. And their capability is what makes them so mesmerizing. They're incredible climbers.
And they have been observed and named for their ability to use those massive claws to crack open thick-husked coconuts.
I mean, seeing one of those casually ambling through the coconut litter on a remote beach is an intense, core memory moment. They are magnificent, powerful, and slightly intimidating creatures you won't forget.
And beyond the crustaceans, the island's vertical, cliff-based geography makes it an absolute birdwatcher's paradise.
It's a key reason why conservationists worldwide focus on Christmas Island. It is the only place on the planet where the rare and magnificent Abbott's booby nests.
The endemism here is critical. It is the ultimate safe haven for these unique seabirds.
And because of the sheer cliffs, the birdwatching experience is uniquely three-dimensional.
Yes, travelers can drive to specific vantage points, like Margaret Knoll Lookout, which sits high on the plateau. Due to the updrafts and wind dynamics, you find yourself essentially at eye level with huge populations of seabirds.
You're not looking up at them with binoculars.
No, you're looking across at them. Frigate birds, these massive masters of the air, and boobies soaring just meters away, allows for unparalleled viewing and photography.
Okay, let's move from the land and the air to the water, because the diving and snorkeling scene here is world-class. But again, it's entirely dependent on that bizarre vertical geology we discussed earlier.
The geology is the secret sauce. Because the island is the tip of a massive submerged mountain, the continental shelf is non-existent.
So it drops off fast.
You go from the coastline to thousands of meters of depth almost immediately. This creates the famous wall diving that makes Christmas Island a bucket list destination for serious divers.
And that geological structure has a massive marine biological benefit, doesn't it?
It does. Because there are almost no major rivers or significant coastal runoff, the water is extraordinarily clear and the coral is pristine.
It hasn't been smothered.
It hasn't been smothered by sediment or silt that plagues many coastal dive spots globally. You have sheer vertical walls covered in healthy coral gardens, sometimes dropping into a deep blue abyss.
And accessibility, surprisingly, is high. You don't always need a boat to see incredible things.
That's the beauty of it. At Flying Fish Cove, you can walk right off a small jetty or ramp and be immediately swimming or snorkeling among vibrant reef fish, healthy branching corals, and perhaps even some endemic species like the Christmas Island angelfish.
But the real underwater jackpot, the true prize that justifies the expense for divers, is seasonal.
Absolutely. For those who time their trip between November and April, the possibility of encountering whale sharks is extremely high.
The biggest fish in the sea.
Christmas Island has become recognized as one of the most reliable and, importantly, ethically managed locations in the world to swim alongside these magnificent, gentle filter feeders.
And that ethically managed part is key.
It's crucial. The operations here are strictly regulated, emphasizing non-intrusive observation.
That is truly the intersection of cost and reward. You've paid a premium for solitude and access, and in return you get ethical encounters with endangered megafauna, entirely without the massive crowds seen in more accessible locations.
That solitude is, in fact, the ultimate luxury this island provides.
And the land exploration, facilitated by that non-negotiable 4WD, provides equal rewards. Tell us about the key landscape highlights our sources pointed to.
Well, we must highlight Dolly Beach. Access requires a serious commitment. A long, bumpy 4WD track followed by a challenging hike through dense rainforest.
We have to work for it.
You do. But when you arrive, the sources describe it as stepping into Jurassic Park. It is remote, wild, littered with fallen coconuts, and almost guaranteed to be shared only with robber crabs. It is the definition of untouched tropical wilderness, raw and untamed.
And contrasting that intense, humid beach feel, you have the freshwater sanctuaries inland.
Hike to Hughesdale Waterfall is a beautiful counterpoint. It takes you deep into the primary rainforest. It leads to a stunning freshwater stream and a pool, a cool, shaded, perfect respite from the heat and humidity of the lower terraces.
And my favorite geological feature the sources mentioned, the grotto. What is that?
The grotto is truly magical. It's a remarkable sea cave formation, almost ethereal, where fresh rainwater that has seeped down through the limestone cap meets the incoming salty seawater.
So it's a mix of fresh and salt water.
Exactly. This creates a swimmable mixture, a cool, slightly brackish pool set in a shadowy, dramatic cave structure. It's an unforgettable, unique swimming experience.
And here is where we link back to the value proposition. When you are standing at Margaret Knoll Lookout or swimming alone at Dolly Beach or watching a crab migration that has shut down infrastructure,
You realize the true return on investment is the solitude.
you have these world-class natural spots entirely to yourself with no crowds, no tour bus congestion, and no resort chatter.
The absence of noise and crowds is the rarest commodity in modern travel, and Christmas Island delivers it in spades.
Okay, we've covered the payoff. It is spectacular, unique, and worth the effort. But before anyone books that expensive flight, we need to address Section 5, managing expectations. We need to clarify what travelers should absolutely skip to ensure they have the right experience.
And this section is a crucial recalibration of mindset. It's not about skipping attractions, it's about skipping the wrong expectations.
Right. So what's first on the list to skip?
First and foremost, skip the resort mindset entirely. This is an active, participatory holiday. You are responsible for navigating your own way, sourcing your own supplies, and being resourceful.
You have to make your own adventure.
Exactly. You should not expect service staff, guided tours for every activity, or to be waited on. You are an explorer, not a pampered guest.
And skip the wrong gear. We've mentioned it, but it bears repeating. Leave the fancy clothes, jewelry, and high heels at home.
Oh, absolutely. Practicality rules the day. Pack light, quick dry clothing that can handle humidity and mud. Sturdy, closed-toe walking shoes are essential for the rainforest tracks.
And reef shoes are a must.
Absolutely. Pack high-quality reef shoes or sturdy sandals for negotiating the often sharp limestone edges and rocky entries at the water's edge. This island is physically demanding, and your gear must reflect that.
You also need to skip the scene. If your vacation checklist includes sophisticated nightlife, sprawling shopping centers, or high-end cocktail bars.
You are looking at the wrong destination completely.
But what are the evenings like?
Evenings are profoundly quiet. They are reserved for watching the stunning Indian Ocean sunset, having a casual drink at the bosun, and listening to the raw soundscape, the calls of the nocturnal birds, the buzzing of the insects, and the relentless sound of the ocean hitting the cliffs.
The entertainment is nature.
The entertainment is nature, not infrastructure.
And skip the idea of perfect, accessible white sand beaches on every corner. The island's vertical geology means that many of the coastline spots are dramatic cliffs or rocky coves.
Exactly. While the beaches like Dolly and Winifred are stunning, they require that 4WD and a hike. Flying Fish Cove is the most accessible for swimming and snorkeling, but again, it is a working port.
You have to manage that expectation.
You do. It is lovely, but travelers need to understand that the island is structured by its purpose, shipping, mining, and conservation, not solely tourism aesthetics.
Finally, and perhaps most importantly, skip the rigid schedule.
Flexibility is rewarded on Christmas Island. You must be prepared for the fact that logistics will change. Roads might close unexpectedly for conservation reasons.
The crab migration being the big one.
The crab migration chief among them. Trails can become impassable after tropical downpours. If you arrive with an itinerary that cannot deviate, you will experience immediate frustration,
You have to embrace the island's rhythm.
which is dictated by tide, weather, and millions of moving crabs.
That required adaptation is the whole philosophical point of the trip, isn't it? It's a place that teaches you that on this rock, nature dictates the terms and humanity simply adapts.
It is a profound, humbling lesson, beautifully integrated into the travel experience.
So let's synthesize all of this in Section 6, the real vibe and final verdict. After tackling the immense logistical challenges and detailing the magnificent payoffs, what is the core atmosphere of Christmas Island? What does it truly feel like?
The sources describe the defining feeling as one of profound, humbling wildness. It is visceral. Nature is firmly, unapologetically in charge.
You see it everywhere.
You see infrastructure that bends to nature bridges for crabs, roads closed for bird nesting. The scale of human influence is dwarfed by the scale of the natural cycles.
And the soundscape reflects this raw, untamed atmosphere.
It's constant and powerful. The humid buzz of insects, the unique cries of the endemic bird species, and the relentless deep roar of the Indian Ocean crashing against the sheer limestone cliffs.
It's always there.
It is always audible, a constant reminder of the environment's power.
The isolation is palpable, and it hits travelers hard, but in a positive way. When you look out across the Indian Ocean from the high plateau, that realization hits.
There is nothing else. No major landmass for thousands of kilometers.
And our sources consistently highlighted that this feeling makes the traveler feel small, but in a good way.
A deep sense of perspective and connection to the vastness of the planet.
Despite the wild isolation, we keep returning to the fact that this is a real, working community, which adds such a fascinating human layer to the vibe.
It's an incredible blend.
Yeah.
You have the functional reality of the phosphate mine operations, the disciplined presence of the Australian Federal Police managing detention center infrastructure, and the passionate dedication of the Parks Australia service.
So it's a mix of different people.
A mix of resilient, multicultural, friendly people who have consciously chosen this demanding life. They are genuinely welcoming to visitors who respect their home.
The synthesis, then, is unique. It's a David Attenborough nature documentary, come spectacularly to life, overlaid with the quirky, resilient, and friendly atmosphere of a tight-knit small town.
It is rugged, demanding, and utterly unforgettable.
Which brings us to the final necessary question. After all the effort, the cost, the logistical hurdles, is it worth it?
We have to present the balanced ledger clearly for the listener.
Let's start with who this is not for.
Let's define who should skip it first. If a traveler's priority is 5-star service, effortless accessibility, shopping, nightlife, or simply passive relaxation on a manicured beach,
Then this is not the place.
then the answer is emphatically, no, it is not worth it. They will leave frustrated, disappointed, and feel that the monetary cost far outweighed the convenience.
But for the right traveler.
For the right traveler, the committed nature lover, the adventurer, the diver obsessed with wall reefs and pristine coral, the birdwatcher seeking endemic species, or anyone fascinated by places where humans must yield to the environment.
You know what?
Then the sources confirm this is unequivocally worth it. It will be one of the most rewarding and perhaps challenging trips they ever take.
The expenditure is the cost of buying into a privileged level of access and solitude.
It is an investment in unparalleled ecological phenomena.
Let's break down that budget reality one last time, slowly, so you can absorb the investment. For a one-week trip, Per person, you are looking at a significant financial barrier.
Roughly $1,500 AUD for those highly regulated, non-competitive flights.
Then you factor in the necessities of life on the rock, accommodation, and that non-negotiable 4WD rental.
Even sharing those costs, you are budgeting another approximately $700 per person. That must be factored in early.
And finally, your on-island costs. Budgeting around $500 for high-priced groceries, fuel for the 4WD, and maybe a small tour or dive trip.
That puts you squarely in the ballpark of 2,700 to 3,000 Australian dollars per person for a single week of rugged exploration.
That is a significant sum, potentially comparable to a week of luxury service in a more accessible location.
But the priceless return is what tips the scale. The money buys you ethical access to swim alongside whale sharks, the unforgettable visual of 50 million crabs turning the ground red,
And the profound luxury of having a world-class beach entirely to yourself, thousands of miles from anywhere.
The ultimate luxury Christmas Island offers is not five-star service. It is silence, space, and a world where the natural order is still perfectly intact.
That journey ultimately recalibrates a traveler's sense of scale. It reminds you how vast the Indian Ocean is, how intricate the ecological machinery of the planet operates.
And how small we are in the face of these monumental, continuous natural cycles.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener. Since the island's infrastructure and community exist in deference to the environment, with road closures for crabs and strict conservation efforts, what subtle changes might you notice in your own life and priorities when you return home from a place where nature is so firmly and spectacularly in charge?
Something to mull over as you start planning your next great adventure into the wild corners of the world. That's all the time we have for this deep dive.
Join us next time as we unpack another fascinating destination.